back to the Rec Portal Relaunch user community session. I'll start just now with a quick welcome and recap. First things first, I'm keen for everyone to feel comfortable to participate. This is obviously a new group and we're still getting to know each other, and I want this to be an open forum, and yeah, there's no such thing as a bad idea. We'll try to foster and create different ways for everybody to contribute as we move forward. I felt a bit like we maybe didn't get that last session, so we're trying to improve the way we do that. But let's see how we go. We're constantly evolving, so we'll see how we get on. So to recap briefly, in our first session, we discussed the menu design. We've now released, you'll have seen the email, we've now released the card sort exercise, and Emma will pick up on that shortly. It's completely anonymous, so you don't need to be a member of this group to participate. So feel free to forward it onto your teams, and we really just want to reach as many different people as possible. So that's the key aim with that. And we also looked at the interface design, gave our first look at the design system and some initial ideas on how the future Rec Portal could look. So today, I guess, is about taking the next step as we start to dive deeper into that detail. So for the agenda, we're going to look at, in more detail at the menu testing and user interface options. We'll also look at the rec schedules, and we'll start looking at change management and think about the current pain points and just start looking at that process. And then we'll play it all back towards the end, and then a final wrap up and next steps, next meeting. So just the usual disclaimer that all discussions today are subject to competition law disclosure rules. So that means no sharing of commercially sensitive information, no discussions on pricing, margins, or business strategies. Just a collaborative forum. I'll hand over now to Sam then, I guess, who's we're going to pick up on the vision again. Is that right, Sam?
Yeah, just a quick recap on the goals. So the things that we're trying to achieve over the next 12 months, we shared this last time, but it's worth reiterating. So improved findability and navigation, so you can get to the information you need quickly. So again, as John said, we started to look at that last week, and we're taking that a little bit further this week. The overall improvement in the user interface and the UX, so that will be a recurring theme for every session we have. And something else we'll be looking at as well, if you skip down one, not a slide, sorry, if you're looking at the slide, so not enhanced search, but we'll be looking at streamlined workflows and user journeys as part of today's session. And the very last one will also, if we have time, which I think we will, hopefully having a look at what the personalized dashboard could look like for you. So I think moving on next, so I'm going to hand over to Emma now, who is going to, if anyone who's already done it will have seen how the, I think 9 or 10 people have completed the online activity, but Emma will take everyone through it now. So anyone who hasn't done it can have an idea of what to expect. And as John said, please share widely the link. So over to Emma.
Lovely. Cheers, Sam. And apologize, everybody. My voice sounds terrible today. But let me just share my screen. So I'm not going to go into things in too much detail. This is more of a quick reminder of the activity that we have available to you all. So there's sort of 2 parts. There's a tree test and a card sort activity. And essentially what we're looking at is improving the navigation of the Rec Portal. And so we want to test people's understanding where they would go to find specific content and information. So this is an example of a tree test where you'll be asked, where would you go to find a certain piece of information or a specific type of content? And then we'd be asking you to select from these options here where you would go to find that piece of information. So, for example, you click on Knowledge Centre and you click on I'd find it there. And that just helps us understand people's understanding of headings, whether our sort of navigation structure is suitable, things like that. The second exercise we have is a card sort exercise. And this is where we'll be asking people to group together pieces of content under the headings that make sense to them. So just as an example, what we'd ask you to do is grab the content from the left-hand side here and simply drag and drop into the bucket that you feel best represents that piece of information. And we'd be asking you to do that for all of the current links that exist on the current Rec Portal site. And then once you're complete and sorted them all out, you can click on I'm done. And then we'll just ask you a few questions around what your thoughts on the headings were. So whether you thought those headings best represented the content, whether you have any other suggestions, and then any sort of final comments that you might have. This could be related to anything on the Rec Portal. Just keen to hear your thoughts on how things are operating, so we can get your input. And as Sam mentioned, we've already had a few responses to the link we sent out yesterday. We'll be asking for as many people as possible to get involved. So please do share it with people within your own teams. I'll also drop the link into the Teams chat here as well, just so you can all easily share it. But that's it from me today.
Thanks, Emma. So the next thing we're going to look at is some concepts for those menus. So over to Maz.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Just a recap on who I am, in case anyone missed the first meeting. I'm Maz. I'm the product designer. I think in the first call, I may have mentioned that I've got a bit of experience in designing some web pages, but what I forgot to mention is that I'm still very much learning about the Reco, and in particular how you all interact with the portal. So that's why I'm really keen today to showcase you some design concepts, and they are very much still concept designs. They are just ideas at this point, so nothing is finalized. But what we really want to do is take the time and listen to all of you, get your feedback, and what we'll do is we'll have a mural board session where you can all jump in and add your thoughts and your ideas across in that. But I'll just take a couple of minutes just to showcase some designs in terms of where we've got to since last week. So this might not be in the order that's presented on the agenda, but I'll shuffle through. So something that I showed last week was the idea of a top level navigation. So this is your conventional navigation bar that you have on a lot of sites, and in here you can sort of interact and access the different pages within the Rec Portal. Now, I just wanted to try an alternative view to this, just looking at in the way you as users interact with the Rec and the type of activities you're doing, how to give you faster and easier access to the services that you need. So we're just trying out an idea of, rather than having a top level navigation, that it sort of sits at the top of the page and you don't have access until you scroll back to the top of each page. The idea of having actually a sidebar navigation. Now, I have heard that not the current version of the Rec Portal, but a previous version did have a sidebar navigation, and that it didn't work that well. So I'll be quite keen to hear more about what didn't work in the old design and make sure we don't make the same mistakes again. But this is an idea of having a sidebar navigation, so you always, no matter where you are, as you're scrolling in the content throughout the site, you always have this view on your desktop. On a tablet and a mobile, you'll also have it, but it will sort of appear as an overlay rather than pushing the content to one side. So yeah, you can interact through the in this as well, so you can access all your pages here. So you have a similar sort of navigation, but it's sort of broken down into smaller chunks, so not having too many links per navigation. But what the sort of real benefits of this type of design can bring is your personalization space. So here's your general links on to access the site, but this is more about how you can make it a bit more personalized. So you have a link to a new dashboard, something that I'll be showcasing shortly. But you can also have things like quick links. So if you are if you're on any page, you can add that page to your favorites. And no matter where you are, you have an access to quick links where you can quickly toggle to any page you want. We will have a better page where you can, so wherever you are, you can come here and hit add current page, and then that will add it to this list. And we'll also have a page where you can manage your favorites and make sure this list contains, is ordered in the right way that you wish it to be and contains your most important links. So this gives us an idea of navigation. Now, what we will do is part of the exercise is I will try to capture some of your feedback and thoughts on which of the two you prefer. However, we won't make a decision today. We'll leave it for user testing when we actually get you all to complete activities, and then we can see which of the two navigations that you prefer. Okay, something else I have been looking at is the digital rec and how you interact with the rec. Now, this is, again, as a concept design, but this is the sort of a landing page. So when you come to the rec, you can sort of access all of these different schedules, and there's about 30 schedules, I believe. So you can access the schedules here. You're able to also do a search. And then when you actually go into one of these, just produce a little concept design here of how you potentially can interact with the rec. This has got some basic features that you'd kind of would expect. But in today's session, I'll be taking your feedback in terms of your ideas for what you would like to have involved. So as you sort of scroll down the page, rather than having the navigation as it currently sits today at the top, which anchors you down to the relevant page, the idea is the navigation sort of locks to the left-hand side in the search. And then as you sort of scroll through, you can sort of access any page that you need. Will it also include this sort of ellipses, the three dots that you see on the right? And this, I haven't got a design, but I wanted for you to think about the type of features that you would like as you interact with the schedules. So one example is I want to flag this content. So as a logged in user, I want to come in and I want to flag this content so I know that I need to come back to it. It's almost like a task for me to do later, or there's an action for me to take. However, you could consider there's potential other ideas on how you interact, and I'd be keen to hear your thoughts on that. And lastly, if this allows me to. Sorry, I've just got the bars in my way. Perfect. Now, the last things I've been working on the last week is the idea of a dashboard. So rather than coming into the website and seeing the sort of generic homepage, what we spoke about last time is the login sort of keeps you persistently logged in. So I know that's an existing pain point. So as soon as you come on the site, hopefully, if you've enabled the persistent sign-in checkbox or the option that gives you to stay signed in, when you come back to the rep portal and you go to the home page, rather than seeing the sort of generic homepage, you'll come back to a dashboard. Now, this is something that doesn't exist in the current site. This is just a concept design, but just maybe can sort of tingle your innovations and ideas in your mind about the type of content you would like to see. So what I'll be really keen to hear in this session is, when you come to the site, what is it that you wish to do? Do you need to pick up on work that you were previously working on? What is that work based on your role? And what is it that you would like to see? So you can think about that as your role, but also think about your experiences in using other services and how they remember who you are and how you're able to interact. I'll just show you an example of like change proposals. So if you are working on a number of change proposals, then potentially you could have them saved to your dashboard so you can have quick access. And then we're looking at the idea of things that are recommended to you. So based on your role and your interests, we could potentially, inform you about recommendations. That's just a concept for now, so we can come back to that later. And if you've got any change proposals that you may have submitted or been involved in, then maybe there's a section for that. So I think I'm going to stop here in terms of the actual site proposals and also sort of concept designs. And I'm going to take you to the mural board. So let me just quickly, in the chat, I'm going to just stop sharing 1 second, go to chat. And in the chat, I'm just going to put a link to a mural board. Now this is, I'm sure maybe some of you may have heard this tool already, but it's just an interactive workshop tool to allow you to sort of give your feedback in sort of post-it note format. Share my screen again, and let's go to. So if everyone could go to the board, that would be great. And you can log in as a anonymous user. You don't necessarily need to put your name. If anyone's got any problems in accessing the board, then drop a message in the chat, and Emma will try and help you on that. I can see some nice pointers going around on the screen, which is great. So we've got some people coming in. Okay, so the first thing we're to do, in case anyone's not used Mural before, essentially we sort of create this page to sort of allow you to give your feedback. With Mural, if you were to just double click anywhere on the screen, a sort of post-it note will appear. In there, you can sort of change the colors. So if you want a different color, you can change your mind, and you simply type into it, double click on it, and then you can stop typing. If you've got any issues with actually double clicking, you can also right click on your screen, hit add content, and put a sticky note as well. That's just another way. So what I'd like is if everyone were to quickly just come to this post-it notes, add your name, your role, and your company. And then as a second, I'll simply drag it over to the ready section. If anyone wants to stay anonymous, that's absolutely fine. But if you just put in anonymous user 2 or anonymous nickname, maybe anonymous panda, and you could come and just move to ready so that I know that everyone is fine. Is anyone having any challenges with this, just so I know? Doesn't seem so. Let me do one as well, just so I can take part in the activity. Yeah, it's great to see so many pointers on the screen.
So I put a note in the chat as well that just was a little recap of the things that Maz just shared with us and what we'd like to get your thoughts on, just in a general way.
Thanks, Sam.
No problem.
Okay,
And
looks
please,
like
I was going to say, please feel free to put your hand up, or share with us now on the call if you've got any questions. You don't have to do it all via Mural in silence if you don't want to.
brilliant. It looks like everyone is sort of going on there. I think someone forgot the. It looks like everyone's sort of moved everything. Okay, looks like great. We've got everyone in. If you're running behind, don't worry. You can catch up. It's literally just to the right hand side is where we'll be starting our first activity. So this is just to play back what we showcased to you is the exercise where we looked at the rec and how you access the board and how you sort of interact with it. So on over here, you'll see if you look at my screen, or you could just sort of zoom in to the existing designs, you can see this is the navigation to the rec schedules with these sort of panels. And then as you scroll down, here is the view of how you interact. So you can change the version history and how you can search and find content. Now, what I would like, I want to give maybe about 4 to 5 minutes for everybody, just to, on the right-hand side, you can see over here in terms of what works well today. So things that you like. So if there's any features that you like, we'd like to hear that as well, because there may be some things that are good about the feature, and then you want to make sure that we keep it as well. So we don't want to get rid of features that exist today, and they're no longer parts of the design going forwards. If you've got any pain points, so there's things that just don't work for you, or there's some niggles you have, feel free to sort of shout them across. And those pain points, you can feel free to mark an idea to say the search is broken, it doesn't work. In the ideas, please fix the search. Yeah. But there may be other things. One of the ideas I showcased was the idea of flagging content. So I'm going to give 4 minutes, Sam. Is that all right? For everybody, so you got a minute each to think about what works well and pain points, ideas. If you've got any questions or comments, feel free to add it. This board will remain open, so if an idea comes back to you later on, you can feel free to come in and add. But I'm just going to give a 4-minute timer for everybody to put across their thoughts.
Just a quick note as well, it'd be quite handy if people could say whether they're referring to the existing designs or the concept designs when they're talking about what they like or what they don't like.
Very good point.
We're about halfway through, so still got just under 2 minutes. In case anyone joined late, there is a link to Mural in the chat for you to come and join us. Okay, the 4 minutes is up, but like I said, this board remains open, so feel free to come back at any point and add more comments. And I'm really pleased to see this sort of level of interaction today. So there's a lot more of your thoughts coming through. So some of the points mentioned are about the sort of search, which is great. People have mentioned about the version history and the importance of it to sort of remain a key part. So what we will do is we will collect these notes, sort of group them up to see what the sort of themes are, and then maybe that's something that we can cover off in in a following workshop as well. But feel free to come in and just continue to update this. Let's move on to the next task. So what I showed you in terms of the designs earlier was just a really conceptual designs on the dashboards and the type of experience you could do as you come back onto the site. Um, this function doesn't exist today, so I've not asked the question of what it is that you like today, because there really is not much sort of features that exist today. So I want to say I'll give you 3 minutes in this on this exercise to just come in and just type in any ideas that you have in the type of content that you would like to see. Um, so if anyone's got any questions, feel free to put in the chat or come off mute um, as well. Okay, thank you very much for that. I'm just going to give a moment, actually, just if anyone wants to come off mute to sort of elaborate on any points they may have raised, or if they've got any more questions. Can't promise I'll be able to answer the questions right now, but it's something that we can take as feedback. Okay. Looks like everyone is very vocal when it comes to mural, but not quite ready to come off mute. That's absolutely fine. Okay, we're flying through this, and we've got 2 more exercises to go. So we've only just started to look at the change management process. We've had a couple of meetings with the code managers, and really keen to have a workshop quite soon, maybe even this week, to really look at an end-to-end process of the change management. But I wanted to use this opportunity today to for those and particularly those who interact with the change process, to tell us again if what it is that works well, any pain points, ideas, or questions or comments you have. So I'm going to give 4 minutes for this one. If you need more time, I'll see if if you're still active, I'm more than happy to extend that time. But let's start at 4 minutes now. Okay, we've got about 45 seconds remaining. If anyone's got any last comments, you can think about both how you navigate and you find a change that's related to you, how you may interact with other documents, for example, the change portfolio overview, what is it like to download the change register to documents or to Excel, and then also when you're in the actual change, how easy is it to find the information that you need. track the progress. So yeah, if that springs any ideas to mind, yeah, feel free to add post-it notes. Okay, brilliant. I'll give it an opportunity again. Anyone wants to come off mute to make any comments about the process? The floor is yours.
I think it's something I mentioned in my comments. The rec's really broad, and within our organisation, you have different people responsible for different bits. So a way to be able to kind of flag and track individual changes. I think that's one of the hardest parts, is knowing, is this change relevant to me, and how do I keep updated on just that specific change without looking at all change and having to go through the change register. So some kind of a subscription thing that says you're interested in this change and here's it pushes you the updates on it, I think would be really useful, because otherwise it's hard to keep track because there are so many errors of the rec and so much change going on.
Yeah, absolutely, Paul. Thanks for jumping in there. So yeah, that's something that we have captured. So some thought processes that we had were that when you come to the change register, you can sort of pin particular changes to the top so that you can easily navigate to it. Having it also in your personal dashboard, so the particular changes you're interested, but also the notification piece to whenever the change is progressing through the various steps. Something that we will look into is the alerting and how you are notified. So whether that is through the desktop notifications or email notifications to make sure that you're kept up to date. But thanks a lot, Paul. I can see there's another hand up. Is it Holly?
Holly.
Yeah, that's me. Hi. I'm looking at things from a slightly different perspective as I'm a CX consultant. Done a lot of website transformations, various things looking at the customer journey or the user journeys. And I think it's more of a broad sort of question/statement in that when you're trying to look at something as, fresh eyes, perhaps maybe it's not your area of expertise, perhaps maybe you are not a member, perhaps you're trying to do research, etc. I think it's really important that when we're thinking about the journeys of any improvements to any of our services, that we are also looking at it through a lens of a non-specialist as well, and what they might need from this. So things like notifications, pinning stuff as a sort of a research angle of things. Is how accessible are we making it for people that perhaps, I don't know, maybe don't have as much in-depth knowledge and engagement? Are we linking the journey through? Are we making it accessible to all, whether they're industry expert or whether they are, entry level intern that's trying to cobble together something for a superior, for example? How do we look at linking the journey points, and as well looking at any third party areas of the journey that also need to be captured into the flagging, notification, linking stages? I think is more, I kind of made the point on the last interactive session, but that's kind of where I'm at from an experience level, is how well does it translate for people that maybe aren't as au fait, and how does it link to a follow-on journey?
No, that's really good feedback, Ollie, and that's something that we'll definitely take on board. We were in the review sessions for the code managers who were very much experts, and they were doing things, and it was really hard to keep track, and especially understand from a newbie point of view. So we will consider that as one of our personas for those people who are less involved in the process. And I guess
I'm busy doing persona work myself, so it's a really good way to capture it, do it as a persona. But I also worked at Alexon as well, and it was the same kind of sort of mentality: is we can do these improvements, we can make these changes, we can redesign. But if we only do it with an industry lens, when actually there might be a wider remit here, have we really considered the accessibility of every element that we're looking to change for all customers and all user experiences? That's really it. I'm here to be the devil's advocate or the pain in the backside, whichever you prefer.
And yeah, we're happy to have you there as well, Sally. So what we'll do is we're going to have a workshop. If we're, what I'll ask with John is to maybe to reach out to anybody who is actually interested in joining that workshop from the various lenses as well. If you're not able to join the workshops, then we will use these sessions to sort of recapture our progress and give you more opportunities to sort of be that critic and be the devil advocate. But thanks a lot for that feedback. Paul, I can see your hands back up.
I just want to pick up on something that Holly had mentioned there. I think a lot of that I think probably cuts across all of these areas, some of the language that we use and how accessible that is, because the rec uses some specific terminology. I've got a practical example from this from today when one of my colleagues asked, can you tell me what's in the rec around new connections? And it doesn't use the term new connections, which everybody talks about. It talks about creating registrable metering points, which I've never known anybody to talk about unless you work in the rec. So it's how do you link, if someone was looking in the rec for new connection, they would really struggle to find it because of the language. So how can you link the language that people, I guess, use on a more day-to-day basis with the legal language in the rec, because that is, again, a barrier to a lot of people, is trying to understand how these, no one talks about change of occupier, they still talk about change of tenancy, things like that. How do you link this back to the things that people are more familiar with, especially if they're quite new to the industry, rather than, you have to know what the rec says to be able to find what's in the rec relating to it, which I think is a flaw across all parts of the portal.
That's great. That's really, really good feedback, and it is something that we will try to look at. If you do have any specific examples, and I know you just gave one in the call, but if anything more comes to your mind, then feel free to just drop us an email as well, and we can take a look at that. But I think we will take that as a criteria going forward. To say, does this make sense? And if it doesn't make sense, making sure things like the right guidance is there on the page to sort of explain things a little bit better as well.
Just building on both of those points, we might do quite well to think about how people, sort of people who are new to the industry, how they navigate their obligations and how they raise things, like how they raise their own preferences for notifications or whatever. Because Paul, you probably know exactly what you want to look at, and you know exactly what you want to be notified against. Somebody just coming in kind of might not really have that view, and so what advice can we give in as much as we can in tagging and in how we I don't know, how we present information to specific users. So it's just another thing I was thinking aloud on.
Okay, great. We've got a lot of really good information for us to synthesize on. We'll go on to the last one, which is just a sort of a recap on the thoughts on navigation. So you saw me earlier on in the start where I showed you two particular options. One was your traditional header navigation. I think I saw some comments say they actually liked it. And then as opposed to the dashboard side navigation, which is it's going to be, I think it's like YouTube is a good example of the website. And if you've used that, where it has the sidebar navigation, it is in a collapsed state often, and then it's just a hamburger click away from being able to see all of the menu items. You're able to interact with the sidebar navigation, whether it's open or closed, but you lose the labels. We do have the option to give you tooltips in case you need a quick reminder of what it is without having to click on hamburger menu. But yeah, I'm just happy to sort of in this call take any ideas or any feedback you may have that will allow us to sort of make a decision later down the line. So yeah, I'll give another 2 minutes for this. And if you've got any new ideas about the navigation, then really feel free to just drop a post note in. I probably should have mentioned this before, but if you see a comment that you like, you can actually give a reaction, give a thumbs up to it. So you can say, oh, I really like someone else's feedback. Time's run out, but if people are still writing, feel free to just continue to do that. What I'll do in the meantime is just again open the floor. If you've got any comments about the navigation or any of the four exercises we spoke about, or if anything else, would you want to bring it up? The floor is yours. Okay. John, and Sam, that's what we had to cover for today. So thank you very much for everyone's really active engagement on this exercise. I think that was quite successful. If you've got any feedback on using Mural as a tool or how the session went, I'm more than happy to get feedback as well. And if for things that work well, we can sort of take that practice into future workshops as well. Sam and John, back to you.
So I was going to do a playback, but there's a lot more input than I was expecting. So I think possibly there are just some questions that we could perhaps answer now. So on the first one, the digital rec, questions or comments. So maybe we could. I started to group the feedback into areas, themes, but I think we need to. There isn't time to do that on this call, so perhaps we could just have a look through. So on the first one, I'm curious if yes, we will be for accessibility, we will be sticking to accessibility guidelines, the Ofgem strategic direction statement. What this in a nutshell means is making the site more interactive, transparent, user-friendly. So this pretty much aligns with our goals around a better, clearer information architecture, more interactivity in the sense of usability within the user experience itself, better user engagement through we're going to be implementing feedback loops into the website when it's live, so you can constantly feedback on it. For things like signing up and forms, we hope to make those more simple and easier to engage with. Overall, simpler UI design, better support through FAQs, etc., and having the detail surfaced in a way where it starts off really simple. So you start off with either the homepage if you're not logged in, or the dashboard if you are logged in. So keeping it so that it gets more complex in layers, which should hopefully address the expert and non-expert user. I think what's interesting there is we are the non-expert users, those of us who are actually working on it. So it gives us a good benchmark against the people we're talking to who are the experts. It gives us a good benchmark on if it makes sense to us as non-experts, then hopefully we can keep that simplicity in there. And again, the accessibility guidelines we're following. If you can pin the page. Yeah, obviously the navigation is sticky, and the page is scrollable. So I guess we need a little bit more info on that comment on what we mean by pinning the page. If it's beyond that, we probably need some clarity on journey points being usable is that if the data should be usable to third-party processes, but definitely. I guess if we scroll over now to the comments, the curious comments on the next, oh, I've just clicked out of it. You might need to zoom in a bit on the, so this is the dashboard designs, isn't it? Will it be configurable? Down the line, yes, that's the plan, at some point. I love the idea that it might replace navigation altogether, but I think it would mean at the moment you just don't need to open the side panel. If you're able to navigate through I think we would need to have both ways of navigating, in page and side menu. But yeah, definitely that's the vision for the dashboard, that it is a navigation page, as well as it will one day be configurable on the roadmap. It wouldn't replace the homepage. No, the homepage would be there for people that were coming to the site not logged in. And also the homepage will be there for the logged in users as well. The thing is, the logged in users would have their dashboard as their own personal homepage or landing page. And that's something we could definitely look into, having that quick response option for consultations. I'm sure that would be most welcome to people that are looking to interact with the support person. So yeah, that's a great suggestion. We'll look into that. I'm scrolling across now, Maz, onto the next sheet. Yes, so 2 of those are about how do we make it easier for people to understand through language and accessibility of language. So that's definitely something I think we need to look at, because yeah, it's really confusing. And hopefully how people see the impact of the change, that's also something we want to make much clearer. That's also part of our brief for the change management section and the change user journey. So really good to see that there, and we'll definitely prioritize both of those things. Scrolling across again to so this is we haven't there, that was it. So I noticed on the first board there's quite a lot of people saying they like the idea of a side menu. I think someone suggested we have the option for both, which is a lovely idea, but I think might be pretty heavy development overhead on that. But yeah, nice idea. But yeah, there seems to be a good amount of support there for the reason I like the side menu myself is because it's tidy, and it also allows you to have more links in there if you need them, or less, whereas the top menu is much more restrictive and harder to access whilst you're moving around the site. So that's just my perspective. But of course, the top menu is more traditional, and I noticed there was some comment, at least one comment on there that said they quite like the top menu. But if you hadn't heard earlier, you didn't pick it up, we are going to be doing a more interactive prototype testing of the 2 menu options through the community page. So, you know, another online activity like the card sort. So based on all that I've just said, any questions or feedback from you guys?
Well, shall I come in now, Sam? Just
Yeah, all good.
Keen to just thanks, Sam. Thanks, team. Thanks, Maz and Emma. Just a quick open the forum. Just is everybody quite happy with the way we've done it with using Mural this time? I know it's difficult sometimes for people to put ideas out. It's sometimes a bit better to think about it and stick a post-it up. So if everyone's comfortable with the format, we'll try and replicate this moving forward. Cool. I'll just share my screen now. Just wrap us all up. Thank everybody for coming, and then we can all get on with our day. So yeah, appreciate everyone joining. And thanks very much for all the feedback that we've got now to go through on the mural board. As last time, the recording we'll publish it on the community page, so we can refer back to this anytime. And just another reminder now to please do complete the card sorting exercise that we circulated. Looking ahead, fortnightly meetings now. So the next one scheduled for Tuesday, the 23rd of September at 2 p.m. I'll circulate an agenda ahead of that call. But yeah, thanks again for the time, and any questions, comments, or anything you want to talk to us about, just reach out to us on Rec Portal Relaunch at retailenergycode.co.uk. Thank you very much, everyone.